So I like doing this after every camp, no matter where I go. 3 of you who think you can actually dunk. Get him! Hey! Good job! Welcome to the Nile Reflection podcast. I am your host, Sarah Chan, and today is so beautiful out here in Melbourne. We're here to catch up with a legend, a big brother in the game, somebody that should be celebrated, and we're going to be a part of celebrating him. He started the Longhorn Basketball Program here in Melbourne and has been successful. Most of his players have contributed to the success of South Sudan national team that have now qualified to Olympics. It's 2024 and we're about to see where this program started. Come along with me. Yeah, and so today's episode, our guest is the incredible coach Manyang Berberi.
Yeah, so thanks Sarah. We're happy to have you here at the Longhorns training session here at Eagle Stadium. So very, very excited to have you.
Thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time and especially taking the time out during your practice session. Yes. I just have one question. Yes. What motivated you to start the Longhorn program and where did the Longhorn program start?
Well, the Longhorns program started in Sunshine, and one of the things that motivated me was to make a change in the community, make a difference in the life of young people, you know. So I got help myself when I was coming up in basketball. So I thought I'd give back and help another young person coming up in the game of basketball. So I started off in Sunshine. I started off Longhorns with my friends, actually me playing, you know, with my friends, team captain, and me playing, and then from there, it gradually went to starting a junior program. So we had the senior program where I was playing in, and then we started the junior program, and just started helping kids from under 18s, under 16s, you know, under 14s, under 12s, and just develop the program that way. So it's quite good.
No, this is incredible. I'm actually watching this and it's so exciting. For any scout, this is where you want to be. And knowing the history of your program and how successful it's been, contributing to the South Sudan national team that has qualified for Olympics. So where did this actually start?
Yeah, so this started in Sunshine, basically. We train at Berberi Secondary College. It's been our home court for a long time. So I played for Victoria University, and then later on I was living in Sunshine. So I said I'll start the Sunshine Longhorns. You know, call ourselves the Sunshine Longhorns. You know, so that's where it started here in Melbourne, Australia. So we just started helping a lot of young people over the years, and then we opened the doors for a lot of them to go to college in America, go to high schools and colleges in America, and. You know, some proceeded. You know, we had 2 players that have played in the NBA. That's Manyang and Deng Adel, and some that have played for the Boomers. Obviously, Mango's played for the Boomers, and Bol Dengdit, who is in college right now, has played for the Boomers. And then a number of players that have played for South Sudan. The team captain, Kuany Kuany, or is players from Longhorns. We have other players like Deng Kuany that have played, Manyang. You know, basically been in training camp, but still yet to get a game. Ball back, Emmanuel Malou. You know, all those players, they came from the program here, just like this, just the juniors from the junior program. You know, and then we developed them over the years, and they go all the way to do great things. So we're quite I think we've you know, when you put in the work, the results come.
100%. Yes. And it's very evident from how hard these guys are playing out here.
This is where you produce the stars, huh?
like doing this after every camp, no matter where I go. 3 of you who think you can actually dunk.
Too much money to count, what's the amount? Check never bounce, I gotta pay it, add it up. Stacking up, reaching up, stacking up. Break it down, we end up
Along the way, keep good company, work together, and keep pushing.
Longhorns on 3, 1, 2, 3, Longhorns!
Such a beautiful.
Yeah, welcome to Berberi Secondary College. You know, this is where all the magic happens. You know, yeah. So yeah. Well, I started I started my sports in Africa, in Kenya, in primary school. You know, playing soccer, doing athletics, doing a little bit of basketball. Then towards the end, or when I was going to join high school, I concentrated more on the basketball, and so just develop the game of basketball even more. You know, they start here in Australia. They start young. You know, at under there's something called play ball.
Okay.
You know, that's where you take your 4 or 5 year old, and this is an initiative by Basketball Australia, which is the governing body of basketball in the whole of Australia. So then it's passed down to the state governing bodies, like Basketball Victoria. That's the state governing body, and so they call it play ball or hoop time. You know, where the little kids just come and there's a bunch of basketballs and there's 4 or 5 year old and they run around and they carry a basketball and they shoot it. You know, so then from there now, once they get to about maybe 5, 6 years old, they join their under 8s in their local competition. They lower the rings. And then they're able to play, you know, and then from there, from under 8s, they go to under 10s, under 12s, under 14s, under 16s. You represent your local domestic team.
Okay.
So you have your local area where there's local domestic clubs, and then from your local domestic clubs, you know, now once you become a star in your local domestic club, you get chosen for your association team. That means you're representing your region now. Like we are in the western suburbs of Melbourne. There's a number of associations that are here, you know, obviously Wyndham Association, Kilo, you know, Maribyrnong, you know, Westgate. So they have local domestic teams. So from there, you know, once you're really good in your domestic team, you represent your regional team, and then you build it up like that. And then on top of that, you have your high school team, you know, so it's quite good.
Yeah, no, I think this is very informative.
Yes, yes.
A model that even back at home
Yes.
could be very useful.
Yes.
But now to go to just what an incredible job you're doing with the young,
Yes.
not just the African community here,
Yes.
but also just generally the young people
Yes.
in Australia.
Yes.
Specifically, the South Sudanese
Community, yes.
What challenges, if any, do you think some of these athletes go through just being in the diaspora and trying to,
Yes.
make it and chase their dream?
So basically, you know, like when I first came to Australia in early 2000, you know, the challenges for the African youth at that time were different from now. So most of the Africans at that time, the ones that came to Australia from non-English speaking background, at that time early was the language barrier.
True.
So if you had kids that came, let's say, from Egypt, and they speak Arabic, then they need time to learn how to speak English.
Yes.
So they'll shy away from joining their local clubs, you know, their local domestic clubs, because you know you're a kid, you can't speak the language, so self-conscious. You know, people, you know, like will ask you questions and you're not confident in speaking the language. So with time, that went away. And then, you know, like obviously in early 2000 it was the language barrier. It was the cost issues, you know, because, you know, settling into a new country, trying to make friends, you know, so those starting a new life, that was the challenges. And then also parents settling into the new country. So they will have to like go and work jobs, and because they're low paying jobs, you know, they have to work longer hours. So if, let's say, you were like 16 or 17 years old and you really wanted to play, sometimes you have to stay home and look after the kids, after your siblings. So that kind of like restrains you from getting into your soccer, into your basketball and all that, like, so, and then over time, as that changed, now the kids that we're dealing with, it's not the language barrier anymore, obviously it's the little challenges at home, like just the logistics, African families who got big families.
Yes.
So you're 15 or 14, who's gonna be dropped for basketball? Well, there's three others at home, like all those little challenges. So you have to like find a coach somewhere and a friend that can get a ride here, or if you're good, catching public transport, you catch public transport, and the moms don't make it easy to they hold on to their kids, like, you can't, you're afraid for their safety. So and then obviously little cost barriers here and there, because local sport in Australia, like is largely parent funded.
Right.
So if you join your local soccer club or footy or basketball, there's little fees that need to be paid. So and then when you're a parent and you have a couple of teenagers, that this one is playing soccer. So the soccer fees, the basketball fees, all that, it adds up, so those challenges that are there. So we try to find ways around it of how to support, in getting involved with your local community organizations, to try and see how you can support some of those kids. So those are some of the challenges, for the Africans,
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate.
Yes.
Coming to Kenya at the age of 12, I remember we used to hide under the beds.
Yeah.
Because we were afraid to go and speak to the kids. What language did we speak? Our first language there was sign language.
Yes,
And Mom used to try and force us out.
Yes.
But so glad that, despite everything else that, kids are, integrating and pursuing and against all odds, still coming out, showing effort, just enjoying basketball and being kids.
Yes.
So as a coach, what challenges have you faced?
Well, the challenges that you face as a coach coaching these young people is basically, like, so when we started Longhorns, for example, right, we getting these kids there was a bit of a challenge, like, why did you miss training, or, somebody misses training here and there's a bit of a challenge, so you try to encourage them as much as possible. And then also, when we registered at the local association, the basketball club at the local association, like, obviously cost barriers, so you have to, like, you're running the program, you have to, like, really go out there and find money, to, like, really make it easier, because you're supporting a lot of the kids, for them to play at their local association, like, there's something called score sheet payments. So you have to pay for the score sheet, you have to pay for insurance, you have to pay for this court, like this beautiful high school facility, score sheet payments, you have to pay for insurance, all those things, so so you try your best to make it work. But here at Longhorns, we've been able to overcome those challenges over the years and work hard, and we've been able to develop a bunch of young people that have gone really to other areas where they've really succeeded. We've got 150 juniors. So we've got players that have gone, that are in high school in America, that are in colleges, and that are in the professional level. Yeah.
So to see everything that you've done and how far you've gone, and just how incredible this has worked out for the youth here. How do you think basketball, not just in Africa, but in South Sudan, can be developed from the grassroots up?
Okay. So basically, the way I would say it is it's really got to start with a vision from the top, and that vision gets implemented all the way to the bottom. So then in Australia here, we have the state basketball associations that are the umbrella governing bodies. So the equivalent of that in South Sudan would be like, let's say, having Central Equatorial Basketball Association, Jonglei. And then now they have a template of how they engage the primary schools, the secondary schools, the universities, having a system in place. And basically starting obviously in our African countries is basically facilities.
Right.
Make sure the primary schools, the secondary schools have a basketball court, so that the kids can start playing there. And then, you know, as they're playing there now, you're training as an association, you're training more coaches, you're training referees, and the facilities are, you know, because the world has changed so much.
Right.
These days, you know, a kid that's in a village somewhere, if they can get access to YouTube,
Yes.
they can watch clinics, they can watch, they
Yes.
don't even need a coach on site, you know, like they
Right.
can watch a YouTube video and start to implement them, but you need those coaches over there, you know, so you need to train the coaches, the referees, and then the facilities now, you can run little basketball games and all that, but it's all starting from the base, start at the junior level,
Right.
and you build it all the way up. So the association has to like really, you know, connect with the primary schools and secondary schools all the way to the top level, and everyone has to work cohesively,
100%,
you know, as a team and
right.
cooperate, so that you can start from the bottom all the way up. Yes.
That's a wealth of knowledge right there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I
you.
think as coaches, you don't get enough credit because the work you
thank you.
put in, my gosh,
Thank you.
it's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
And because of your work
Yes.
as well and what you've done with the youth, South Sudan
Yes.
gets to enjoy the fruits of your labor,
Thank you.
and other coaches as well. As we go into the Olympics this
Yes.
year in Paris,
Yeah.
and with your contribution and the players that you have, you know,
Yes.
basically built, and
Yes.
they're now
Yes.
representing
Yes.
South Sudan in the Olympics. The country has done so well, but the joint efforts from everybody is why
Yes.
we're there.
Yeah.
Now we're there. How does that feel? I would love to know.
Well, it feels, oh, trust me, it feels really great, and
Yeah.
I feel like, to be honest with you, I feel like it's a collective effort.
Yes.
And that collective effort of everyone has to be recognized and
Yes.
has to be appreciated and has to be celebrated, you know.
Yes.
So there are people that have put in work in all different parts of the world, you know. Firstly, I look at it like the pioneers of basketball, you know, like for the South Sudanese kids going all the way to Manute Ball, you know, inspiring, you know, and the players that even played before Manute Ball in the 60s and
Right,
70s.
right.
And all those, we appreciate their efforts because,
Yeah.
you know, like for a country to be involved in a certain sport, there must be people that must have started
That
it.
came before.
Yeah, that came
Yes.
before.
Yes,
So the past and the present and the future all needs to be
coexist.
celebrated.
Yes.
All needs to be celebrated, you know. So that's how I look at it. So basically, the story of South Sudan going to the Olympics is a story that started a long time ago.
Very, very
You
long.
know, before we got here, because there's a reason that got me into basketball, you know. So, you know, being inspired by people like Manute Ball.
Yeah.
And then the story goes on like that. So, and Manute Ball being inspired by others.
Yes.
You know, so I feel like everyone needs to be appreciated and everyone needs to be recognized. You know, but basically, you know, like going into the Olympics, you know, everyone that's contributed in Africa, in the diaspora, and back in South Sudan, you know, from the leadership of the federation to the coaches, to the ones that develop the players anywhere in the world, we really appreciate their work.
Yes.
And are really thankful. And the ones that are continuing to do everything for the game, we really appreciate everyone's effort as a collective. And obviously coming here to Longhorns, our contribution, our small contribution that we've done to the national team, developing players that the current team captain of South Sudan,
Kuany
Kuany.
Yeah.
The pronunciation is Kuany, but we call
Kuany,
him
but
Kuany, yeah.
Kuany Adel.
So yes, yeah. So he started here, you know, as a 12, 13-year-old, you know,
Yes.
in this facility, and rising all the way to become the captain of the South Sudan national team. So that's
Right.
amazing stuff. So Longhorns, there's a couple of players, like I said before, that have come from this program and have represented the national team, the South Sudan national team, which is great. You know, like I mentioned them before, you know, like obviously there is Emmanuel Malou, there's Kuany, there's Bolbak, there's Deng Kuany, you know, all these players, you know, that have gone, Mango, Jackson
Yeah.
McCoy. Jackson McCoy is a young phenom, you know, the point guard, you know, that
I
went,
love
you
his
know,
game.
represented the country at 20 years old
Yep.
only, you know, so
Oh, he
amazing
plays
stuff.
so fierce.
Yeah, very solid player.
Yeah.
And there's other basketball clubs in here in Australia. We had an umbrella association called the SSANBA.
Okay.
There's other basketball clubs here in Australia, you know, that have developed players like the Savannah Pride, Red Roo, like Tang Pot is
Yes.
played from Red
Oh,
Roo.
okay.
He was another one that was
Yes, was
also
part of the
played for
team.
South Sudan, for a long time. So there's clubs across Australia that are under the umbrella that are affiliated to the SSNBA
Okay.
that have developed players
And
over
for
the years.
those who don't know, what does SS stand for?
The SSNBA is the South Sudanese Australian National Basketball Association, which is an umbrella body that brings us together. We formed it around 2012.
Okay.
And there's 2 tournaments we used to do in the year. The National Classic and the SummerSlam. We're still doing it until this day. So those are the oldest clubs, from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, all Canberra. All these clubs come together, and we play in these 2 tournaments every year. So those tournaments are like the fuel that keeps these young people going, because it's like a community festival. You're going to meet
Right.
with your people.
Right.
Yes, there's other basketball clubs
But
that
this
you're playing in the
networking.
state. In your state, there's other basketball tournaments that you're playing in, and your local leagues. But then this tournament with your community members, you look forward to that. So people go to that and they compete, like to try and get there, So from there now, the players get their scholarships and they go to higher places. They go to the NBL, they go to Europe, they go to the States, high school, college. Then when they become really, really good at the professional level, they're able to represent South Sudan. So, and also play professional and get paid for it. So it's a collective effort by everyone, and I just think that everyone's effort should be appreciated, and so that's how I see it.
That's amazing. And for instance, NBA scouts, and it's not the first time that the NBA presence scouting in Australia, in the South Sudanese community or basketball community has been felt. For any NBA scout or any NBA teams that are basically interested to know when the next tournament takes place, when is that timeline?
Well, the timeline is July. Like this year, July, our tournament is in Sydney.
Okay.
From the 12th to the 14th of July. So the coaches obviously will take the players over there. Like, for example, Longhorns, we get a big bus and we take the team there. And we participate in the National Classic. And then obviously the plan, like for people like us, is to get the kids to go and play in that tournament, then try to get to Paris and make sure we're there at that game, on the 20th of July, to support South Sudan against Team USA, which is going to be a big game.
It's a big game.
And I would just like to say as well, we look at the bigger picture, men's basketball, women's basketball. And personally, I would like to say, Sarah, you've been a pioneer for South Sudanese women's.
Thank you.
And what you've done, for yourself and your basketball journey, just inspired so many women, to get in the game, like I said before, we were seeing some of your clips and we're like, oh, who is this lady? This is so amazing,
Thank you.
Right now, obviously, South Sudan has a women's team, and if you interview a lot of those women's players, a lot of them will say they saw you play, and so that's the importance of role models, people that create a path and then others look at it, and you have others following. So it's quite good.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, I really appreciate that.
Yes.
No, speaking of the general contribution of everybody, it makes me think back to Adel. Machar, and who I think he was the first captain of the first national team. We're talking about the minutes that came before us. Legends like yourself, coaches that are incredibly pouring into the youth, because it takes a village to raise a child, but also to coach and to pour into this young man from sports perspective, right? It's I'm lost for words, honestly, to say thank you for all that you do, and we see you. We see you, we see your program. We thank you so much for your contribution. Now, for our parting words, what advice would you give a young aspiring player that wants to play not just basketball, but any other sports? But I know, as...
Yeah, so what I would say is the message I would give to any young person playing basketball or any sport is there's always a question. And that question sends fear down everyone's spine and all that. They say, oh, are you gonna make it?
Right.
You know, and that's just, oh, wow.
Everything
you know, when you're
that
16 years old, 15, 14, you're like, oh, what does that mean? You look at these big NBA players, you know, you're like, oh, you know, and it creates a certain type of fear that almost makes you walk away from the game because you think, I don't think I can ever be that good, you know?
Right.
And this is what I would just like to say to parents and to other coaches, to really break down what making it is, right? I was on the same journey. I wanted to become the next Michael Jordan. I wanted to go to the NBA. I wanted to play college in America. Well, none of that happened, you know.
We're here in Melbourne.
Yeah, you know, like, so what happened was I went to Victoria University, played for the university team, played here in Australia, and then when you start to see that plan of going to college is slowly shifting away, well, guess what? I got a job with the Melbourne City Council as a youth worker, and I'm like, oh, hang on a second. Wait, I'm working for local government.
Right.
Okay, well, that dream, you know, to become an NBA player. Okay, let's just leave that alone for now, and
we'll revisit.
Start on this journey. So my message is, you know, like there's different routes that will emerge.
100%.
As a young person, you know, when you come up in sport, there's different routes that will emerge. You know, you rise up, and you know, I continue to play the game, and you know, like started Longhorns, got into coaching, you know, I helped a bunch of kids, you know, and one of my, because I'm such a competitor, I was like, you know what, actually, I didn't get that scholarship, I'm gonna help this kid get this scholarship. You know?
Amen.
So you open the door for so many kids, and then when you actually see them succeeding, you feel like that's part of the success, you know, as well.
Yes.
You know, so with young people, they need to know that any sport that you play, you don't necessarily have to become the best of the best. You don't have to be the superstar in the Premier League or the superstar in the NBA. There's coaching, there's health and fitness, you know, you can be a gym instructor. There's so many things that open up along the way.
Even entertainment, like DJ Ivy with the Dallas.
There's so many things that open up along the way that you can be able to see, okay, I'm actually good at this.
Yes.
And for me, I actually realized I was actually better at teaching the game than actually playing it.
Wow.
And I was good. And I was good at basketball. So then I realized, oh, hang on a second. I'm actually good at teaching the game more than, because, you know, I started this basketball club in the western suburbs of Melbourne, very little resources. And then when I look back at it, all these coaches that had bigger clubs, they come to ask me, oh, how do you get all these kids going? I'm like, you guys are asking me. I thought I was going to ask you guys, what's up with that? You know, like, I thought I was the one that was supposed to ask you guys, how do you develop this? You know, they start to see, okay, some of the Longhorns kids, they're going all the way, NBA, all that. I was like, oh, okay. You know, so
how are you doing it?
yes, because the thing is, as a coach, what you have to do is just believe in your players. Like, there's, like, you see certain talent, and there's kids that I've told, you know, like from when they're 14 years old, 15 years old, and I say, you can actually play in the NBA, and you should see their eyes just light up.
Right.
So, like, they're like, oh, hang on a second, you know,
it's possible.
I was thinking this is maybe I can get
people.
there, but then it's for specific people. But then you got my coach is telling me I can go there.
Get there.
Now it's like that's
and
it.
you actually have
I'm
guys
actually
that have gone there.
Yeah. So it holds a lot of weight as a coach.
It does.
You know, when you see a young person, when you tell a young person that, and that actually affirms that from somebody that sees their ability and knows, and they're like, okay, now because this person believes in me, I'm gonna go there. You know, so it's really important. So the whole idea, the whole concept of making it is, you just gotta make it in life. There's so many areas in life that you're gonna make it in, and I normally say that, okay, so because all young people say, oh, I want to make the NBA. Yeah. So I say, okay, so what if you make the NBA, right? And you're a superstar and you make millions and you're like horrible to everyone and you're in every party and you've got 10 baby mamas and you've got all that. Have you really made it? Is that really making
question.
it? You know?
Yeah.
Is that really making it? And they're like, oh, hang on a second, that's actually not making it. And like, so making it is making it in life, you know, not necessarily just, at the professional level. It's just being a good person, being good to people, and that's what making it is, you know.
Thank you so much for the wisdom you've shared with us
Yeah.
as we part ways, and
Yeah.
thank you for your time. If
Yeah.
there's anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I would just like to say, Sarah, thank you so much, and Josh, thank you so much. For coming to the Longhorns facility here, and this is where we've been training for a long time.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers as well for tuning in to this incredible story. This is a legend right here, a big brother in the game, just a phenomenal leader, always bringing people together and also showing us the way exemplary. So thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode. Ciao. This has
thank
been
you.
such an incredible
Yes.
time. I've learned so much.
Yes.
It's such an honor to actually come here.
Yeah, to
and
be
see
here,
where,
see
it
where
started.
it all started. So
Right.
this is sort of like the facility where you would basically say the South Sudanese basketball story started in Australia.
Yeah.
And we're glad we've been able to contribute towards what South Sudan is doing now,
Right.
and to be able to help, to assist and play our role in terms of helping the team and the country, and it's great that we changed that image,
100%.
wash away the war image,
Yeah, 'cause
don't
all
want
the
any
time you
war,
think about-
no war image, yeah,